It's Chris Haslwanter from RIDDLE&CODE. Welcome, Chris. Can you already hear us?
Yes, thank you very much. I can hear very well. I hope
yeah, everything working. The stage is yours.
Okay, perfect. I hope everybody can see a few slides. Thank you for having us. My name is Chris Haslwanter. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of RIDDLE&CODE. For those who don't know RIDDLE&CODE, we are a Vienna-based company. We are a specialist. We call ourselves a blockchain interface company. And because our background is hardware, we build hardware and software stacks, always with the aim of securing trusted entities, and both for objects and people. Meaning, for us, cryptocurrencies have never really been the sole goal, because we believe in the tokenization of physical goods in the future. So the cryptocurrencies is the first wave, of course, and the function of itself is very similar. And I just explain where we come from, because then you will understand how we built our, what we call a token management platform that provides the custody. It's clear, there will be machines who communicate to each other and who take autonomous decisions. If they take autonomous decision, you need to know which machine it is. Yeah, you just should not guess, and that needs to be cryptographically secured through an identity. We also believe that the economy will be stored and transacted via tokens. I think there's no discussion about that. If you look, for example, at the World Economic Forum, they assume that up to 10% of the gross national product will be transacted and stored using tokenization and blockchain. So I think that will be a very big thing as we move towards 2030. And of course, it's all about ownership, because who owns the key owns the asset. We are active in different verticals because we adopt the same concept, technological concept, by securing identities through crypto chips and hardware in different verticals. One is fintech, where it's all about asset management and custody. I will talk and specifically focus on that in this presentation. We are also, of course, in the energy vertical, where we collaborate with energy providers to tokenize physical assets. In that case, it's PV plants and enable new business rules and new business opportunities. In the mobility area, we had a project with Daimler Mobility where we created a car wallet to tokenize car-related wallet data and also create automated data markets. And the same goes for material, where we heavily invested in the steel industry to notarize certificates. All these products connect to a token management platform and the related custody service, and underneath sits a ledger to be able to secure and store identity and metadata. Now, let's talk about token custody. I think I can skip that part. We've heard in other sessions what kind of different custody types we have. I just want to mention that this slide shows it from the perspective of RIDDLE&CODE, meaning self-custody, having your own device, securing it by yourself. Classic custody, where you assign this task to a company, a bank, an institution, or whatever it is, or custody as a service, where we as RIDDLE&CODE take the custodial responsibility for our clients, and these clients then offer it to their customers. So it's B2B2C, if you want. Now, looking at our architecture. Our architecture is built around trusted execution environments. We have already heard about similar solutions from other vendors, but however, it's a secure area where all the key material is secured and stored, where all the transactions are signed, but it also contains a very important aspect, and that is what we call the policy layer, which is a set of rules that governs all aspects of a transaction. And if you look to the left, there's hardware devices which connect to this platform in the cloud. And there's secure authentication methods, and we believe that that needs to be by hardware as well. And the entire solution, of course, needs to be able to integrate into client system that can be banking, core banking systems, or any other CMS systems as you please. And it needs APIs into the ecosystems. We heard many times DeFi is high on the list here. Of course, that flexibility needs to be provided by a token management platform, by a custody service. And underneath, then needs to sit a set of chains. It needs to integrate into all the chains, but it also has to manage different side chains mechanics. I come to that. So long story short, I go through each and every component, and I will explain why we actually opted for it. And it's been a direct function of not only the development of technology, but it's also the learnings from requests from our clients and different types of clients in different industries. So the first thing that we figured out is we believe that accessing our platform needs to be done by hardware devices. These hardware devices, we created them by ourselves. They contain a set of secure elements, and by that we can assign them specific identities and again secure them. I just show a little picture. Now, this is what we created in our own premises. We went through all the audits and all the things. The size is quite slow. I think you can show it like this. I'm not sure if the camera shows it. So we hand out these devices. So the lessons learned that we had when we were first approached by a Swiss bank that wanted to deploy the 4i principle. Actually, we need something that is not only secure, but is still auditable. Yeah, and auditable in a way that goes beyond the standard system. And that's why we came up with the crypto wallets that we then distribute to the agents or whoever is operating the custody. Now, these wallets have different, we call it approval devices, have different functions. No, they either can approve a transaction in secure, or they can even sign a transaction. So a custody service needs to be flexible to offer both. Yeah. In the case you sign it, you need to deal with all the key material on this device, which is perfectly capable to. If it's just about to approve it, then the signing is assigned to the trusted execution and in the cloud. Of course, since we talk about identities, you need to have a blockchain underneath that is actually able to manage these identities, secure it, and secure all the related metadata. So we talk about throughput, we talk about connectivity, interoperability with other chains. So we heavily invested into BigchainDB and to exactly deliver that kind of functionality. Now, if you have these devices, of course, another lesson learned was, since you can also create these quorums, like 3 out of 5 people need, for example, to approve a transaction, it needs to be location independent. Yeah. If you are on a business trip and you need to sign a transaction, you cannot go back to your company to sign it. So, of course, that needs to be able self-understanding through a UI with the help of your hardware device. But also, the platform must support multi-party computation for many reasons. Yeah, and one is you can apply it in the key management system, but you can also apply it for your clients. Yeah, that means even though you assign custody to a company, through this device, you can co-sign a transaction, and by that you control still your assets to some extent. Yeah, even though if you're not fully responsible for securing these assets in the cloud. And whatever you do, and that's really a bumpy road for us, you can, of course, reach the highest level of security, but unless they're convenient enough to use in your daily operations, people will not use it. So it was a difficult way for us actually to package the technology in a way that it was simple to use. Now, key management. We all understand key management is the single most important thing of custody. Yeah? And there's always one key that all the other wallets and client wallets and all the other assets are derived from. So the key creation process is of the utmost important. You know? And we found actually, to our big surprise, we need to support different key generation methods because our clients have a lot of different requirements. Some wants to do it from the hardware devices. Some want to do it in the trusted execution environment. Some basically want to inject existing keys. All these things need to be enabled by your custody service. And it needs to support, once it has the key, both manual and automated transaction signing. That can be done in many ways, but Another learning was if you approach, for example, a regulated industry, banks in the first place, HSM is a trusted technology that they've been using for decades, and they want to reuse it. So you need to integrate HSM as well. You need to be able to do that in order to cater to this requirement. That can be done either by the HSM storing the secret, or it can be even done by having the HSM sign the transaction after it has gone through all the governance layers of our platform. Talking about governance layer, I mentioned it before, the policy layer is probably the heart of all this. It's a cryptographically secured set of rules that really govern end-to-end the entire transaction, from creation to execution. And it needs to be cryptographically secured. We started out with a method where our client asked us, okay, we have our business rules from database and you just retrieve the rules and you apply it. But by doing so, you would compromise an extremely secure service with an unsecure database. So the policy as we have deployed it is just as cryptographically secured as the keys are, and that makes it incorruptible and it makes it auditable, which is extremely important. These policies, of course, need to be very flexible because daily business processes are different from client to client, and they need to be able to change it in a simple way. And simple also means we create it in a human readable way, not exclusively out of convenience, but also because in some jurisdictions, for example, the Depositengesetz, the deposit law in Germany, requires you that the rules underlying such an asset needs to be human readable. Yeah? So in our interface, you go in, you can really understand what the rules are, and it's not just machine language. The policy layer is also a strong feature to manage business logic and on and off chain. Why do we believe that off chain becomes increasingly important? Nowadays, talking about DeFi, because that's the big hype, it's basically all based on contracts in Ethereum, smart contracts. However, these contracts cannot easily be ported to Bitcoin and other coins. So that means you need a different way to manage the underlying terms and conditions. Yeah? And DeFi products will also run across different chains, cross-chain. That means the different contract logic needs to also be managed in an agnostic way. Second layer protocols may be another reason to do that. So meaning inter-chain logic, off and on chain, or even connecting a legacy system with the blockchain in the future will require a lot of Oracle services. So all that needs to be provided by a strong feature like the policy layer. Versatility was a topic often mentioned in previous discussions. I think, of course, a wide number of algorithms and elliptic curves to support all the coins. It sounds easy, but when your solution is based on all this cryptography and these crypto chips, you have to have a profound knowledge and expertise in actually handling all these curves. Why? Because your clients will come up and ask, well, can I do this? Can I integrate this coin? So you need to have a concise process for the integration of new coins with reasonable lead times. So we're constantly challenged by our clients to increase the number of specific coins, and we have a process for that unless it's some sort of exotic coin. Legacy system, ecosystem service. Of course, I already mentioned, I don't want to waste time on that. It needs to integrate in core banking system. It needs to integrate in customer management system. It needs to integrate in DeFi provider and respective APIs. So I think that we have a full layer of APIs to enable just that. And I mentioned DeFi. Yeah, it's a must. Off-chain transaction fee reduction, I think I heard it only once. If you are a custodian and you have a wallet for each of your clients and for each of your currencies, then you probably do not want to run each transaction against the main chain, because the fee, and we heard it in the previous presentation, is really an issue. So you have to find a way to smartly clear it off-chain. And we have a service exactly for that. you can really bring fees down to a minimum and then clear it at the end of the day or in specific periods of time. What else? The complexity of cryptography and all this is enormous. Yeah, and I think only if you are open source and you have a peer review in place, you're managing the myriad of attack vectors, which is another prerequisite, at least in our view, for a custody service. And last but not least, regulatory increasingly important as well. I think Switzerland was one of the first countries to allow custody. I think we were also one of the first companies to gain acceptance by the FINMA. In Switzerland, we just recently received it from the Austrian finance authorities. So what does it actually mean to be regulatory compliant? You need to adhere to these provisions, and that means even your company and not just your clients need to be accepted by financial authorities in many jurisdictions. And that is a lengthy process because you need to run through all these auditing process, security audits, etc., etc. And fully auditable, it's not a mistake here. It means that actually you need to be able to make your code and everything that runs transparent, which you can't do if you run your code in a black box. AML is another thing. Here, we do not offer that by ourselves, but we have a collaboration with CoinFirm, which is a renowned international global AML provider, and it's fully integrated for our clients actually to use in a very convenient way. We also envision that maybe in the future, real-time audits need to be possible because, a transaction can't be reversed. So we foresee maybe the authorities even run their own nodes, and so they can real-time audit all kind of transactions. Metadata already mentioned. Account segregation is very important. At no point or at any point, you need to show who is the beneficiary or the owner of that. And we do that by clear account segregation because in Switzerland, for example, if you can't prove that, you have to back the funds 8 times with fiat money, which of course ruins the business case. GDPR, we never store GDPR, any GDPR-related data or processes within our platform. And last but not least, deployment options. Certainly, it's available on the cloud, but also on-premise, because in some jurisdiction, the regulator forces the companies to have it on-premise. And last but not least, we're looking forward to the tokenization of physical goods. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. There is a question from the audience, if you still have the time, and we still have the time. And it is, what would hurdles be into real-world implementation? And please keep it short.
The hurdles certainly were process integration. I think most companies were not familiar with crypto, and they completely underestimated the responsibilities come with it. So to give you an example, to keep it short, a big company, just who is the person actually taking responsibility of the key generation process? What's the name behind it? Already that is a huge hurdle, and it goes through end to end through all the processes.